Hi loves, welcome or welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute, it's been a while. I've been having trouble being consistent just with like my own internal battles. So I'm happy to be back to be doing July readings for the signs. I really wanted to do July readings for the signs because it's my birthday month and I feel like it was just right. And at first, for a minute, I was like, I'm not gonna do this. And then I was like, no, like I can't make up more excuses to not film. So hi, hello. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope that the eclipses have been bearable. I know that they have been really hitting some people very hard recently. So if you're one of those people who are really being affected, I hope that you're taking care of yourself and tending to your needs and making sure that you are okay and checking in with yourself. So yeah, so today I wanted to start off with the July readings for water signs. So we're starting with Cancer. Obviously we have to. Happy birthday, Cancers. Bitch, it's our time. I'm a Cancer. I'm really excited. My birthday's in July. Also, before I'll get started as well, I will also be linking down below petitions that you can still be signing for the Black Lives Matter movement and just for justice for all of the people who have been affected. You know, different like GoFundMes and petitions and things like that, and just information that you can be looking up. So okay, you know, like the movement's not over, it's far from over. So we have to do our part in all of this. So I'll be doing that. I'll be linking that down below. And yeah, all right, let's go ahead and get started. So Cancer, what's going on for Cancer? Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus this July 2020. What's going on for Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus this July 2020? All right, so we have a card that fell out. We have the Moon reverse that fell out. That's right here. The Moon reversed. We have the Queen of Swords. We have the Page of Cups. Judgment, oops, Justice reversed, okay. Seven of Swords, and then we have the Eight of Cups at the bottom of the deck as the overall energy. There's a lot of blue and green here, which is really cool. So a lot of heart chakra and throat chakra energy is coming through. Maybe that's relevant too, I don't know. Okay, so we have the Eight of Cups, and then under that is the Tower reversed at the bottom of the deck. So having the Eight of Cups at the bottom of the deck as the overall energy, this basically talks about walking away and moving forward. This to me kind of feels like a shedding of, a shedding of your skin this Cancer season. And this July, I feel like you're walking away from your old self, and I feel like you're leaving behind a lot of your past and a lot of any sort of baggage that you may have been carrying, however long it may have been that you've been carrying this thing. I feel like you're letting go of a lot of baggage. This kind of reminds me of like the Little Mermaid for some reason. Like she's stepping out from the water. So I feel like you're kind of leaving this old life behind for like a quote unquote better life is kind of what it feels like. Like I feel that you're leaving behind old burdens or just anything that just was somehow holding you back. And I feel that you're stepping into this new energy, this new journey in your life, a new chapter in your life where you're going after and pursuing things that you really want. And I feel like you're not really letting anything hold you back anymore. Does that kind of make sense? And I feel that with the Moon reversed, a lot of things are coming to the surface. A lot of anxieties, a lot of fears are coming to the surface, and I feel like you're having to deal with them. And I feel like in July, a lot of what you're doing is kind of reflecting on these fears and looking at them objectively and seeing how irrational they are and how these irrational fears and like this paranoia has held you back for so long, and how like whatever you have been conditioned to believe, whatever has been engraved into your subconscious, I feel like that's really coming to the surface, and you're really going to be dealing with it and cutting straight through the BS. And I feel that in July, I feel like you're really analyzing yourself and how far you have come. And, you know, with July being your birthday month for a lot of you, I feel like you're really kind of reflecting on how far you have come in your year. What have you accomplished? What have you improved on? And on the other side of that, what could be better? What is something that you still have yet to accomplish? What is something that you still require to do? How can you still work on improving? That sort of thing, you know? And I think that's really, honestly, like, it's really exciting. And with the Judgment card here, like, it's sort of an awakening moment. I feel like there's just a lot of realizations of how you haven't been treating yourself fairly with the Justice card reversed. And I also feel like kind of realizing more and more, or becoming more in touch with like your shadow side, I guess you could say, with the Justice card reversed and like the shadow side right here. I feel like you're kind of having an awakening of what work, like what you still have to get done. My hair is weird. Okay. What you still require to get done, what still needs to be worked through and unpacked. And, you know, like, you're making your way through there, you know, like, you're getting through it. But I feel like there's still so much left to unpack. And I feel like July is really the time for you to like unpack everything, even the things that you really don't want to deal with, all the things that you don't want to face, that you don't want to admit within yourself. I feel like those are things that are still like kind of coming up to the surface, and I feel that a lot of reflection is due, a lot of contemplation and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's really exciting. And then we have the Page of Cups. This is so cute. I've never realized that like there's a little heart thingy. Like there's a little, like there's a hand making a heart sign. So that's really adorable. But Page of Cups, this to me talks about like your creativity and like sort of being an idealistic person. What is that? Is that a bird? Is that a bird? No, I think it's a plant. Okay, never mind. Okay. Page of Cups is like, this to me is like being really idealistic, very much like a dreamer, a daydreamer, having a lot of really beautiful creative ideas. And I feel like for a lot of you, you're putting your creative ideas, your creativity to good use. And I feel that you're finding a way to intellectualize it, I guess you could say, and then eventually materialize it, if you will. That's kind of what it seems like to me. I feel like there's a merging of the intellectual versus the creative and like the free flowing, I guess you could say. It kind of feels like a balance, learning how to balance between logic and feelings and emotions. Because with a Page of Cups, this is someone who can also be really naive and kind of look at the world with rose-tinted glasses, and that can sometimes even lead to like emotional immaturity in some sort of way, or just, yeah, like being like just very kid-like, childlike when it comes to dealing and regulating with your emotions. So I feel that with the Justice card reverse, this is kind of bringing a lot of attention to how you may have improved in terms of emotional regulation and how you can still improve and how you can still get better. What are places or what are things that you still need to improve upon in terms of emotional regulation and being objective rather than leaning towards one side or the other, because as Cancers, like obviously we can be very moody. So I feel like that's kind of going to be a thing as well, like learning how to balance between the two, because right now Justice reverse is indicating that there is an imbalance, that there is either like there is a tipping to one side, and we need a sense of balance, we need a sense of moderation rather than going to the extreme, whether it's the extreme of relying too much on logic and being very cold hard facts and being very concrete about things to the point that it's very harsh. And then on the other side of that, you know, being too emotional, being too, like not too sensitive, but being just like trigger happy with emotions and just getting easily offended over everything and kind of like lashing out emotionally, that sort of thing. So those are kind of like different things that seem to be coming up for us in July. So I'm really excited to see like how that kind of pans out. And and then we have this 7 of Swords. So what for some of you this Cancer season, or I keep on saying Cancer season, this July, for some of you this July, some of you may have a lot of really great ideas, creative ideas that you want to act on. And I feel like it'll be one of those things where you really want to act on it, and you have like all of these really great ideas, and you're like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then like you start it, and then it just like never really fully develops because you didn't really have a full plan. It was more so like it sounded better in your head, but then once you started kind of like acting on it, you realize like, oh shit, like I didn't really plan this out. And then you kind of just like want to give up. So this is kind of what it seems like to me. So for some of you this July, this is kind of calling attention to how you may require to plan beforehand and to strategize some things before really acting on your impulses, especially like emotional impulse, needing to learn how to kind of have a sense of self-control and self-discipline in terms of whether it's like creative ideas or even just acting on any sort of emotional impulse, whether it's like lashing out on someone or whatever the case may be. And I feel like that's why the Queen of Swords is coming through here, because this is kind of saying like, we need more of this. We need more objectivity. We need more planning, cutting to the chase, being very logical. It's like, yeah, okay, we have this idea, but how are we going to act on it? You know, like, yeah, we have, okay, that's cute. That's a cute idea, but how are we going to make that into a reality? How are we going to make that a practical thing? You know, that's kind of what this is kind of asking here. So with the Justice card reversed again, this is kind of saying like, you can have the best of both worlds. You don't have to be, you know, all Page of Cups or all Queen of Swords. That's not what we're saying. You can have a balance of both, and that is what works best in your favor. So that's kind of what it looks like to me. And I feel like in that process of learning how to find that balance and moderation, a lot of like suppressed feelings are likely to come up, and like a lot of maybe repressed fears or anything that you might not have dealt with in the past are probably going to come up, and you're going to be like, oh shit, like in the past I realized how I went wrong, and now I know how I can approach things better. And it doesn't even have to be strictly about a like a creative project. This can literally relate to like jobs or school, you know, changing your major or relationships in your life, right? That sort of thing. Not being so quick to just like be swept off your feet. But learning how to use your critical thinking and your discernment so that you don't end up fucking yourself over later on. Does that kind of make sense? So that's kind of what that seems like to me. And I feel, yeah, I really feel like you're leaving something behind. Yeah, so we have the Page of Wands reversed. So this to me also talks about a lack of planning, a lack of foresight, just being really directionless and kind of just like doing something impulsively, just like, you know, going at it and kind of just like winging it. So I really feel like this is calling attention to how to like these sort of habits of impulsively doing something or kind of just like winging it and hoping for the best. This hair is bothering me, but you know what? Fuck it, I already started the video. But this is kind of what it's kind of indicating here. And so this to me is kind of saying like walking away from the impulsivity, from giving into the emotional impulse, and learning how to have a sense of discipline, and learning how to plan things ahead of time, learning how to use our discernment and our critical thinking, rather than kind of just like being caught up in the emotions or the excitement of like, you know, looking at things from rose-tinted glasses. You know, I feel like a lot of illusions are kind of breaking, and how we might fall into our own like self-imposed illusions, or kind of like being caught up in like this cloud nine sort of thing, and then being fucked over by that, because you know, eventually that illusion begins to break and shatter, and we see the reality of things, and we see how we went wrong. and like needing to fix all that. So that's kind of what that looks like. And with the bottom here, again, at the Ace of Pentacles, this to me is kind of indicating July is really a great time of planting new seeds, of planting tangible seeds and watering them and being very consistent in our works and like being practical with ourselves and in the planning of like, in the planting of these seeds, you know, of whatever it is that we plan to do, whether it's, again, relationship, work, school, whatever it might be. So that's kind of what that looks like to me. I feel like the blindfold is kind of being taken off from over our eyes, or we are taking off our own blindfolds and we're realizing how we may have tricked our own selves into believing certain things, or how we have tricked ourselves into kind of just like sweeping things under the rug in hopes that like things will end up perfectly on their own, when in reality, like, that's just not the case. So yeah. So this to me kind of looks like shedding your skin and walking away from like these sort of habits in general. So yeah, that's what I have for you, Cancer. I hope it resonates. I hope it helps. Happy birthday. And that's it. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hey, Scorpio, let's just go ahead and get started with your reading. This may apply to Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. So keep that in mind. All right, so Spirit, what's going on for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus this July 2020? What's going on for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus this July 2020? Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Okay, so we have the Knight of Swords. We have the Three of Cups. Two of Cups reversed. The Chariot reversed. What is going on here? We have the Knight of Wands reversed. Queen of Wands reversed. And then at the bottom of the deck is the Empress. The fuck? What the fuck is this shit? I feel... What the fuck? What the hell? What in the goddamn fuck? Alright, so at the bottom of the deck is the Empress. So I don't know if this is you or another person. Reverse the roles however way you require for this reading. But the Empress basically talks about someone who is abundant, beautiful, like the ideal partner, someone very motherly, very nurturing, possibly someone really creative. If it's not a person, then this can just talk about creativity in general. The birth of something new, maybe like it's a new chapter in your life that you are entering. But I feel like this is someone that you may be involved with. Again, like, I don't know if this is you or someone else, but listen, there's the Three of Cups here. And with the Two of Cups reversed, I don't know, I just feel inclined to believe that there's some sort of like third party situation going on, or there's just something messy going on with relationships, if I'm gonna be quite honest with you. And it's like someone not knowing what choice to make, right? Because we have, so the Three of Cups, whatever. So three people are involved. Maybe it's not even a third party situation. Maybe it's like a friendship thing. It doesn't even have to be that deep, okay? So we have the Three of Cups, but then we also have the Chariot reverse, which is like not knowing what choice to make, not knowing how to move forward, not knowing which direction to follow, like feeling very overwhelmed with external stimulation and like external opinions and maybe even like unsolicited advice, but this more so kind of just feels like feeling really distracted and unfocused by outside opinions and outside like people talking in your ear. That's kind of what this feels like. It's almost like it kind of feels as though someone is trying to place a wedge between you and someone else. And with this Knight of Swords, this is kind of suggesting how in July you need to take on, or you are already taking on, this role of needing to get to the bottom of things and searching for the truth, because it feels like someone isn't being honest. Someone is kind of like being messy. Someone is spreading rumors or lies or just like trying to create some sort of scandal in order to place a wedge between you and someone else. And it could be because they're jealous of this Empress person, because we do have the Queen of Wands reversed. So this is someone who is very easily jealous, someone who is unreasonable, someone who is very like, they want to be the center of attention, but they're not getting the attention. And so they're trying to find other ways to get it. And with the Knight of Wands reversed, this is like misdirected or misguided aggression, misguided like anger, like taking out the anger on someone else, even though like the anger isn't necessarily on that person per se. It's like projecting or lashing out on someone in order to feel more powerful, or in order to kind of just like feel better about themselves and soothe their own ego. And so this is really interesting. So maybe this Queen of Wands reverse person, whether it's you or someone else, again, I don't know, but it kind of seems with this Queen of Wands reverse, like this person is trying to place a wedge between you and this Empress person. And it kind of feels like it's coming up from a place of jealousy and kind of wanting what this Empress has, which is abundance, beauty, creativity, all of that sort of stuff, like everything associated with the Empress, like obviously the Empress has. So with the Queen of Wands reversed, I feel like this person is just really jealous. And I feel with this Two of Cups reversed, like they're trying to break that bond. I just feel like they're trying to place a wedge between you and this person. Like that's literally, I feel like this person is kind of trying to whisper in your ear, like all of these things, all of these rumors or whatever, just trying to say things to manipulate the situation in their favor. And I feel like that's really like creating some cognitive dissonance, right? Because obviously you see the Empress as who she is, right? Very beautiful, creative, abundant, wholesome, whatever. But then you have someone in your ear saying, no, she's a bitch. No, she's this. No, she's that. No, she's this, that, and the third, whatever, right? Like saying all of these lies, kind of feeding you all of these lies in order to manipulate you and kind of take you down a different direction to get you to pay attention to them and be like, no. It's almost like they're trying to persuade you into believing that they are the one for you, or that you are the one who is meant to be with them, or whatever the case may be. And so I feel that with the Knight of Swords, like this is really kind of emphasizing, I feel like, how it's important for you to get to the bottom of things and to really question and use your critical thinking in this sort of situation so that you don't end up becoming manipulated. Because I know that for you Scorpios, you obviously like being backstabbed and being betrayed is something that you may have already experienced a lot in your life. And so kind of hearing about that and possibly kind of having someone that you thought wouldn't do that, like kind of like hearing about them kind of just like, can I talk? Hearing about someone that you love supposedly saying all of these bad things about you, or kind of going against you in some way, that might be a sort of trigger, and you might be inclined to believe, oh, this person is against me, I need to go in defensive mode, I need to like burn all this shit down, right? But I feel like this is kind of saying, don't be so quick to like pull the trigger, don't be so quick to kind of believe whatever is being fed to you, whether it's by this actual Queen of Wands or by other people who are associated with the Queen of Wands or something along those lines. Does that kind of make sense? Because I feel like it's so much more deep than what is being led on. And I feel like this Queen of Wands is kind of trying to place a wedge between you and this Empress, because they are jealous and they want to get this Empress out of the way, because it kind of feels like you are like, it kind of just feels like you're the prize, if you will. So that's kind of what it looks like. And so that's why it's really important to kind of not necessarily isolate yourself, but tune everyone out so you can listen to what's actually going on, okay? Listen between, like, not necessarily, I don't want to necessarily say like read between the lines, but be very observant. You have to be an objective, you have to be taking on an objective perspective, because if you will allow your emotions to get the best of you, like, you're probably gonna have a hard time trying to figure out who's saying what and like what the truth actually is, and your emotions might be like might work to your detriment, if that makes sense. So that's why it's really important for you to remain objective in this situation and not allow your emotions to get the best of you, and not allow them to just like make you do things that you might regret in the future. Like, you just giving into like emotional impulses, if that kind of makes sense. So it's really important to like tune everyone out and really observe what people are actually saying. You know, like there's one thing that you hear, but then if you think deeper into it, like there's more to it than what they're saying. You know, pay attention to body language, pay attention to word usage, to tone and things like that, because people are very, like, it's very easy for people to give away what their intentions actually are. You just have to pay attention. And I know that you can do that because you're a Scorpio, you're very observant, like that's just a part of you. So that's, you know, that's what I'm saying, that's what I mean. So that's kind of what seems to be happening here. And then we have the Two of Wands reversed. Like, I just feel like this, it comes down to like, it's boiling down to some sort of choice between you and someone else. And I really feel like this person is just jealous. Like, that's really what it feels like. And so with the Strength card, this is really suggesting like, it's really important for you to be strong, to have internal strength, and not be so quick to be swayed to one side or the other. You know what I'm saying? It's really important for you to have your own free will, and for you to kind of stand on your own 2 feet and not allow yourself to be so easily influenced. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, like use your critical thinking, ask questions, pay attention, that sort of thing. Does that make sense? So that's kind of like what that seems to me, Scorpio. I stumbled over my words so much. I swear to God, like Mercury retrograde in my sign, like ridiculous. I already fumble over my words so much. It's just terrible right now. So yeah, that's really the advice that I could give you, Scorpio. Pay attention, pay very close attention, be objective. You need to keep your emotions in check and be mindful of making emotionally impulsive decisions. Because I feel that once your emotions become involved and once your emotions are kind of being toyed with, I feel like it's difficult for you to remain objective. And then it kind of just becomes this sort of like search for revenge. And, that sort of revenge might not be taken out on the right person. And then you just kind of start assuming things and just think everyone is against you. And then there's just paranoia. And then it just becomes a mess. And that's why it's so important for you to remain objective, for you to remain grounded and really remain critical of what's going around you, and being very aware of your surroundings and like of what's going on, of who's saying what, and so on and so forth. Okay? So, yeah. That's what I have for you, Scorpio. I hope it helps. I hope it resonates. If you're able to get something out of it, just let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, I'll talk to you later. Hi Pisces, welcome back to my channel. Let's just go ahead and get started with your reading. So this may apply to, this may apply to Pisces Sun, Moon, Rising, or Venus. So let's get started. All right. What's going on for Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus in July 2020? What's going on for Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus in July 2020? Going on for Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus in 2020. What's going on for Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus in 2020? Going on with Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus in 2020. Okay. All right, we have the Hierophant reversed. We have the Three of Cups reversed. This was in the Scorpio reading, except it was upright. We have the Death card reversed, Scorpio card. King of Wands. The Fool reversed. Queen of Pentacles reversed. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Seven of Wands reversed. This is kind of similar to the reading I did for the eclipse. For Pisces, I think. For the eclipse reading that I did for Pisces yesterday. Okay, so Pisces, I feel like you're coming through as the Queen of Pentacles reversed. This to me talks about someone who kind of puts in more attention, effort, and care into other people rather than themselves. Kind of like worrying and taking care of other people more than taking care of their own selves, making sure that they're okay. It's like tending to the needs of everyone else but them. So that's kind of what this Queen of Pentacles reverse feels like. It kind of feels like you feel really drained of your energy trying to take care of everyone else around you. And I feel like it's really exhausting, and I feel like it's a cycle that you have yet to grow out of, and I feel that like it's just time. I feel like you might have been a bit of a pushover lately, which really sucks. But we do have the Three of Cups reversed. So the reason why I say this, Three of Cups reversed to me basically talks about really superficial friendships, talks about gossip to me, talks about rumors and drama. So maybe you've been experiencing a lot of drama lately within your friend group, or with just like mean people in general. Maybe there's just been something that's going on. Maybe they're trying to pick a fight with you, and maybe you kind of have just been letting it happen because you just don't really want to involve yourself, or you just don't really want to deal with it. Maybe you think running away is like the best answer, or maybe you just feel like you're not strong enough. Maybe you feel it's kind of easier to let it go and just let them have their fun, rather than like standing up for yourself. And at the bottom of the deck is the Seven of Wands reversed. And the Seven of Wands reversed kind of talks about someone who throws in the towel a little bit too quickly, someone who doesn't really believe in themselves, someone who thinks that they're weak, someone who kind of like puts in like a bare minimum, and if they don't get the results that they want, then they kind of just like drop it and let it go. And so with you, Pisces, I feel that this is kind of saying how you may have allowed yourself to get to this position of not really having the upper hand, or kind of just like let it happen. Like you just don't want to fight. You don't want to put up a fight because you just don't want to have any sort of conflict. Like maybe for you, it's just easier to not deal with any sort of conflict. Maybe for you, it's just easier to just like let it go, to ignore it, whatever it may be. But it feels that by doing that, by kind of letting them have that power, by letting them do whatever it is, like they just further gain more and more power over you, and like further torment you, and just make life more difficult or more challenging, or just more of an inconvenience in some way. And it feels like it's really draining you. And I feel like this is a cycle that has been going on for a while, because the Death card reverse is like resisting change, resisting transformation. So I feel like you have kind of like been resisting standing up for yourself and resisting making any sort of waves for whatever reason it might be. Maybe you've been conditioned to believe that not making waves is the best move, right? Maybe you just don't like conflict. Maybe you just don't like drama. Whatever it might be, it just feels like you don't want to deal with it. Like you just want to run away with it and like be in your comfort zone or whatever the case may be. But this is likely going to continue happening unless you do something about it. I feel that July is really like, in July, you need to work on standing up for yourself, speaking up for yourself, and showing people that you are not just gonna take their bullshit, that you're not just gonna let them spread certain rumors or talk badly about you without any sort of proof or evidence or whatever it is. Like, if you no longer want to be tormented, you have to do something about it, okay? And you're not as weak as you may believe, okay? You're not as helpless as you might believe or others may believe. You're actually a lot stronger than you give yourself credit for, and you can actually be really fucking vicious when you want to be. But that is a side of you that not many people, you know, see. They underestimate you, and maybe you even underestimate yourself. But sometimes conflict has to end. It can only end when you show other bitches that like they cannot mess with you and that you are not to be messed with. Like they, you know, just letting it slide, that shows them that they can do whatever the fuck they want, and that they can just like continue like tugging on you and like bullying you or whatever, or just bothering you or tormenting you. Like the longer you say nothing, the longer you remain silent and kind of just let things happen, and it just feels like mean girl shit too. Like it just feels really petty, like just really ugly, like coworker like type shit. Like not even something super substantial. It's just like catty sort of ugly bitches who have like nothing else going on in their lives, so they want to like torment someone else because they hate their own lives, and so it soothes them. That's kind of what that feels like. And so like you have to stand up for yourself in order to gain some sort of difference and just like break that cycle. Like you have to take on a different approach with this Hierophant reverse. Like you need to do something different. You need to take a different approach if you want different results or a different answer. And I also feel, and just like prove to them that they don't have power over you. Because if you like I said, if you continue letting it happen and just like brushing it under the rug, like, oh, ha ha ha, like it's just a joke. No, it's not. You fucking know it's not a joke. Turning your cheek on the other side, kind of just dismissing it because you don't want conflict, is probably going to make the situation worse. So confronting it directly is probably one of your best bets. Doing something and showing them that, you know, you can't just continue. They can't continue messing with you. So with the Fool reverse, this to me kind of talks about learning from your mistakes, learning from your past, you know, having a lot of, you know, having your experience and no longer being naive to the situation. You are not naive to the situation. You very much know what's going on. You can't just continue pretending that it's not there, okay? If there's an elephant in the room, you have to face it one way or another. Eventually, you're gonna have to deal with the elephant in the room. And if the elephant in the room is bitches tormenting you, then you have to deal with it one way or another, okay? And I feel that like that's just the time for it. July, you know, there's a lot of shit going on. We have Mars in Aries. We have the eclipses that are just now finally ending. Like there's a lot of energy going on. We have a Jupiter Saturn conjunction that just happened a few days ago. There's a lot going on. Saturn is back in Capricorn, you know. Whatever you haven't been dealing with or refused to deal with before, that's going to continue coming up until you finally deal with it. So, you know, you can either be the Queen of Pentacles reversed, being drained of your energy and not taking care of yourself and kind of just like letting people torment you, and maybe like this kind of feels like with the Queen of Pentacles reverse, like maybe you've kind of let things happen because you wanted to fit in with them, right? Maybe you cared so much about your image and maybe you felt so insecure within yourself that you thought trying to fit in with them would help the situation and kind of like make them stop tormenting you. But it's almost like they don't care about including you. They care about making you a scapegoat. And so that's kind of what that feels like. And so with the Fool reverse, it's like, okay, no longer allowing yourself to be naive to the situation and stepping up to the plate as the King of Wands and doing something about it. Like doing something about it and showing them that they chose the wrong one, you know? Taking on a different approach. And like, of course, that can be that can be intimidating, especially when it may be something that you've been dealing with for so long and it feels weird and confrontation is like, it's weird. I get it. But eventually you get tired and eventually something has to give. Something has to give if you want to get different results. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, like the pain is going to continue dragging out unless you do something. Like taking the high road is like, it's not an option anymore. Taking the high road has clearly shown that it doesn't do anything. So you might as well do something different, right? And the reason why I said this because I have the Three of Swords reversed, like dragging out the pain, dragging out the heartbreak, the disappointment. It's going to continue disappointing you unless you do something differently. Okay, we have the Page of Cups reversed. This is like a lot of idealization, but having a reverse is like, again, no longer being naive to the situation. It is instead of looking at the world from like war, or not from war, rose-tinted glasses, it's looking at them from like a war-torn sort of lens, if you will. So this is like, you need to no longer be naive and see the reality of a situation and see that these people don't have your best intentions at heart, and you need to stop dismissing this shit in hopes of being their friend or in hopes of being accepted, because that's not happening. It doesn't seem like it's happening. So with the Seven of Wands reversed, this is saying like you really need to work on your own insecurities and put up a fight. You need to put up a fight and believe, and like start believing in yourself and start working towards believing that you are worth more than how you were being treated, and you deserve to be treated a certain type of way, and these bitches are not treating you this way. Okay, like that's it. So, and then with the Eight of Cups here, this to me kind of talks about taking the high road, but the Queen of Pentacles reversed right under it, this is kind of saying how taking the high road is draining for you. And in order to tend to your own needs and better take care of yourself, sometimes you have to do more than kind of just ignore it or taking the high road. Sometimes you have to confront the situation directly, okay? So, yeah. That's kind of what that's saying to me, Pisces. I hope it helps. I hope it resonates. I hope you were able to get something out of it. With that being said, good luck. I love you. Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.